Hey guys, welcome back. I did that review video on that Reticus V115 portable AM/FM shortwave radio, and before the video I had showed this realistic Navajo TRC-457 at the beginning of that video. And honestly, I probably got more comments on this realistic radio than I did on the portable radio I was doing the review on. And several people come back and say want to see it, work through it and this and that. So I figure over the next sometimes off and on, as I get a chance, like I said, I'm getting a little more time here in the shop, we're gonna go through this radio and get it restored and get it back into its former glory. These radios, it's close to 40 years old now, was made in the 1980s, and to me this was the Cadillac of the realistic radios. Now Realistic made several different Navajo radios. They had the 458, real popular radio. They had a little small 23 channel radio that's called a Navajo, and it was a pretty good all around little AM station. But this radio here is one that I have seen some of the people I used to talk to was talking on, and it was just beautiful radios, and they sounded good and they received good. So I wanted to get this one back to where it used to be. Now you can see I just have a this is a 4-Mac microphone just plugged into. Now, one thing I didn't like about a lot of the realistic radios is this 5-pin DIN plug. I never really cared for them. I like the screw lock on style, but it is what it is on those, and we'll have to get by. So I started searching around the shop here. I wanted to find an original realistic microphone for this era of radio, and didn't come out too good. So here is the style of microphone that Realistic would have had on it when it was purchased new. And as you can see, what I have here is some scraps, and these was taken apart, I don't know, 10-15 years ago and thrown in a box, and all of them had bad microphone elements. None of these elements were any good. Now if you notice, the PTT switch just sits right on top of the element, and it's wired in, so I figure I won't never need them. I'll just throw them in a box and save them. And you can see that's what it looks like with a little Radio Shack logo on the front. This one is very dirty. It will probably clean up okay. This one here has got some bad scratch mark on it, so it looks like this one may be the best one, not unless this one here would clean up. But I'm still without an element. So I was also looking around in the box, and I drug this old microphone out. It is Realistic. You can see the name is just about gone. See the STIC on the end of it. And it had the up-down channel buttons on it. And I plugged the microphone into the mic tester, and it worked. Let's see, I think there's a yeah, let me put this under the microscope. Yeah, so looking under the microscope, you can see that it is the 500 ohm microphone, very high impedance, and that's just what we need for the 457. And here's the electronic side of that. You You can see the two up-down buttons, but it has a good mic cartridge in it. I done tested it, works fine. Has a pretty good cord on it, needs to be cleaned up, and a good 5-pin DIN plug. So we can take one of those microphones and put this together, and we should have us a pretty decent stock microphone for the 457. So I picked out two cases. This one that's real dirty, and this one, you can see some of the white is just about rubbed off of it, but we can fix that. And two rear cases, I'm gonna throw them in the ultrasonic cleaner and clean them up and see how they come out and look. So anyway, basically all I want to do in this video is just see what kind of shape the radio is in. Take the covers off, have a look in the inside, see what's been done to it. I know the guy told me he was the original owner and he's only taken it to a shop one time. So I want to find out just exactly what the radio does, what it doesn't do, and you know, just have a good go at it. Now I've already got the capacitors in stock of some Nichicimicons and some Panasonics, and we'll recap the whole radio. There's no need of trying to troubleshoot a CB radio of this vintage with the original capacitors in it. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, you replace the capacitors. That solves most of the issues that these radios have if it hasn't been hacked up or anything. And I don't think this one has been worked on too much. So we'll check it out and find out. Okay, I got the radio powered up. Got it running into the dummy load. Volume's cut down. We're on AM. I'll key the microphone, see if we got transmit indicator. Yes, and you see the meters are turning red. SWR meter's moving, and the power meter is moving up just a little bit. Not very much. If we look at the power meter, I got it set for 5 watts on the B&K 1040, and key it up. You see nothing. Also over on the scope, there is nothing. And when we look at the frequency counter, you can see it's trying to read a signal, but it's not able to latch on to it. That kind of tells me that the 27 megahertz oscillator and buffer stage is working. There's no power coming out of the radio. And over here on the underneath the bench, you see I got another realistic radio, and let's use that for a test set. When I key it up, you can see the lights are coming on. Turn the volume up. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. 1 2. So you can see the audio is in the radio is working. It's putting out a 27 meg signal, but there's no RF output power. So let's see what the receiver's doing. I'm on channel 20. I have to turn the volume just about wide open to hear the hash in the speaker. I'll cut it down just a little bit. I got this signal generator on. It's on about minus 90 dBm. 30% modulation, 1 kilohertz tone. And about minus 70 dBm. I can hear a tone in the radio. Minus 60. This is going to get loud, guys. Minus 50. S meter hasn't moved at all. That's minus 40. S meter has come up to 1, minus 30. S meter's up to 4, minus 20. S meter's at 6, minus 10. And we're at about 7 on the S meter. So the receiver is way down. So we tested on AEMs, and just to see, we'll go to single sideband. We'll go to the lower side first. I even turned the monitor radio over here on lower sideband. And the monitor radio I'm using is a TRC-457, so it's 40 channel upper lower sideband. Test 1 2 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2. Radio check. Test 1 2. Meters don't move. And again, no output power. And just for giggles, we'll go to upper sideband just to make sure. Test 1 2 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2 3. 1 2 3 4. So a lot of times, a lot of things can be told just by doing these simple tests. I ran through the switches just to make sure that they were working as they were supposed to be. A lot of times people will go in and cut pin 19 from ground, add a like a 1K resistor to ground, and put that on the switch, and that would give you from, I think, channel 8 to channel 40 upper channels. And I don't see that in this radio. Another thing that I don't see, I'll go back to lower sideband. Test 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. Check. Radio check 1 2. Radio check 1 2 3. The clarifier has never been clipped and opened up. It's just like it was from the factory. Okay, so this is what happens when you leave a radio in a moist environment, like in a basement, and it just sits there. You can see the corrosion that's built up on the chassis. There's a little rust spot here beside this decal, but yeah, you can feel it too. So I'm gonna have to work on getting this cleaned back up. I got one screw left in here. I'll go ahead and take the screws out and look through the radio. I had 2 screws left. And even though the chrome bezel is scratched up, I put some masking tape around it. I'd rather use blue masking tape because it doesn't leave the residue, but I'm completely out of it. And you can see all that corrosion inside. So a lot of this will probably clean up. You can see it's starting to get rusty back here in the back. So we'll have to clean it and oil it and polish it out. So when I open up on these radios, I always open up on the bottom first because I want to see what's going on. And the first place I always look at is underneath that D858 chip. And as you can see, that's pretty much stock. Nothing has been cut, or no jumper wires has been run, and it looks pretty much stock. Now I do see some interesting things. You know, I said the radio didn't transmit. Let me move you in closer here. Alright, we're looking over here by the pre-driver, the driver, and the final. It's 1306, 1307 transistor, and you can see these long flying leads coming out of the board. This is from The driver looks like has been replaced. That's probably a resistor there. And looking at the solder joints, C179 has been poured out, which is a 2.2 microfarad tantalum capacitor. If you get one that don't transmit, that's usually the first thing you go to, is that C179 2.2 microfarad tantalum capacitor. A lot of times it'll short and prevent the radio from transmitting. I don't see where any solder work is done to the transistors, the driver or the final. But yeah, somebody's been playing around in this area right to start with. I also noticed this. There's a little loop of wire that's been soldered right there. Yeah, a little loop of wire has been soldered right to the ground plane of this board. So whoever was working on it must have soldered the wire there so they can clip the ground of the test clips to. Interesting. So guys, y'all get to see exactly what I'm seeing for the first time. I got the screws out of the top cover, and we'll go ahead and pull this off. And have a peek inside the radio. Well, I'm looking in there, and yeah, you can see corrosion on the board. It's not that bad. There's that C179, that tantalum capacitor, and this is the orange capacitor, and that doesn't look like the correct capacitor. Now you can replace these with a 2.2 microfarad electrolytic 50 volt is normally what I replace them with. The cover is missing off the relay, so we'll have to find one of those. Okay, again, this is when I really need to get a macro lens for this camera. But you can see R182 has been replaced, and the reason we know is that we saw the flying leads out the other side, but it doesn't match the old style resistors that is in this radio. This is a new, more modern style. When I say modern, it's probably in the past 10 or 15 years. Resistor, and that's a 10 ohm resistor that's in there. I would have to look at the schematic to be sure that's what it's supposed to be, but that's what it is. It's a 10 ohm that's in it. Another good thing that I'm seeing, the bias pots for the driver and the final are not turned completely wide open. It doesn't look like the 54 megahertz coil has been touched. As you can see right here, it still looks like it's waxed over. We can tell that the coil after the final has been turned, screwed in pretty good, and the driver coil that's sitting on back here just a bit. Has been turned on. But you know, looking through it, I'm not seeing no hackery or any foolishness going on. It looks pretty much stock. You can see the transformers in the back that says emit, no adjust. None of this has been, I've seen this stuff torn off, and people has gone inside and try to adjust these, you know, but it really doesn't look bad, other than being 40 years old. power supply appears to be all stock. Got the original caps in it. Original bridge rectifier. Original pass transistor. Now, most of the time the transformers will have Uniden written on them, but you see this one does not, and it doesn't look like it's been replaced. But if you look back here, you can see Uniden here written on that, and on the crystal filter you see Uniden written on it, plus on the 858 chip. You see it has the Uniden 858 chip in it. I want to just go ahead and check, just do some voltage checks right quick on the final stage and see just what's going on, because that'll tell me if there's a shorted transistor. So on TR6, the 1307, we should have 0.64 volts on transmit. And we got a 0.55 on the collector. It should be 4.7 volts, and we're showing 12.0. And if we go to the final, we should have 0.59 on the base. We got 0.72, and on the collector 4.92, and it's at 12.5. So you can see the voltage on the collectors of both the driver and final is very high. So that makes me wonder if something that supplies those has gone bad and putting a lot of voltage on those transistors. Alright guys, so you notice no need of trying to troubleshoot while the receiver's down and while there's no transmit. We've already looked at quite a bit of things on it. We know there's been some parts replaced. We got some flying leads under there, and what I need to do now is just go ahead and recap this radio. Now, I'm not going to video recapping a radio. That's like watching paint dry. You pull out a series of capacitors in a circuit and you replace them. You solder them in, you clip the leads off, you clean up the flux. You move on to the next section, you do the same thing. I'll probably start with the power supply and then come over here to this side of the board, work through the transmitter section all the way around until I get all the way around to the other side. Then there's a capacitor up here in the clock circuit right here that needs to be replaced. And I don't think there's nothing underneath as far as electrolytics. Don't think they have any electrolytics under this bottom side of the D858 chassis, and I don't see anything. There is one down here on this board, on the control board, that have to be replaced also. But what I'll be sure to do is record all of the troubleshooting that we'll do to this radio to make sure everything is up and working properly. And something, if you go on YouTube, you will not find many people that does alignments on radios. You'll see some do a partial alignment or something, you know, but doing a full alignment, and the 101B that I'm working on, that, You know, I've been promising to get an alignment video out on it. This is the problem, and which I'm still going to do that since I've worked through it. You start going through an alignment and you get to a coil or a potentiometer or something, and it's adjusting out of range. Then you got to stop and you got to troubleshoot that circuit and find out, you know, what's causing it. Since we have new capacitors put in the radio, we know it ain't capacitors, so it could be, you know, a resistor or a coil, or, you know, bad solder joint, or whatever. Well, hunting down that one problem could take 30 minutes. Well, it could take several days. And I think that's why you do not see that many alignment videos on YouTube. We'll go through this the best that we can. Normally if the radio is working somewhat like it's supposed to, it's not that bad. That 101B, we already know there was a lot of problems with that. It was used on 11 meters, and a lot of coils has been tweaked on it, so it's taken a while to troubleshoot problems that I'm finding along the different stages of alignment on that radio. But we're going to get it. As soon as we do, we'll get it posted. I'll probably will try to post a preliminary of what I've done to it, similar to what I'm doing to this, on the startup procedure for aligning the radio. But I'll try to get some of that posted in the next week or two. Just depends on how time goes. But we'll go through the service manual. I have the SAMs on this, and in fact I got the whole volume of SAMs, and we'll go through all this alignment procedures that's in the book, and we'll go through some of the schematics when we're troubleshooting, and see if we can get this thing working like it's supposed to. Okay guys, what I'm planning to do is over the next week is go ahead and in my spare time and recap this radio, and once I get that done, then we can come back and start the troubleshooting process, and then get it tuned and aligned. See, can't we get it back to where it's supposed to be and get it working. I did notice there's an LED here in the clock. I've got to look this up. I don't know if it's AM, PM, but I saw just a couple of bars over here. But like I say, I'll have to look at that and see. It may just be AM, PM indicator. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've looked at one of these radios. The microphone element that I was going to try to put into the older style Radio Shack microphone, that one is a little bit thicker and you can't get the case on it. So I'm going to have to search around, see if I can find a good stock microphone. And you know, there may be one here in the shop. It's just hard to say. I got boxes and boxes of stuff packed away, but I'll look around. If not, I'll have to go outsource one, see if I can locate one. So guys, until the next video, we'll you know, stay tuned, and we'll work on this thing a little bit at a time and get it up and going. We'll catch you later now. Bye.